security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You are here already?
No. Now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jam questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I am sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Better.
11 people dead and many injured as gunmen opened fire on worshippers at St. Philip's Catholic Church, Ozobolo, Anambra State.
President Buhari and other leaders condemn Ozobolo church attack, assure Nigerians of safety.
Nigerian Army appeals to the public to guard against Boko Haram indoctrination and suicide bombing missions.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on the raging debate over the desirability or otherwise of a state policing system in view of Nigeria's internal security challenges.
All right, now, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo early last month declared the federal government's intention to begin, of course, considering the framework of community policing. Now, the framework, according to him, may be implemented very soon so that activities of police can be more effective in the remote parts of the country.
Now, the announcement by the acting president did not come to many as a surprise, especially given the alarming rate of increase in serious crimes, including, for instance, kidnapping for ransom, armed robbery, rape, militancy, murder, and ritual killing. And as many have observed, the Nigeria police force as it is today appears not to have demonstrated enough capacity to cope with the increase and sophistication of some of the aforementioned crimes.
Indeed, Kingsley, it's very sad that, Nigeria police today, appear to be, for want of word, overwhelmed, by a pervasive wave of crime in the land, to the extent that heinous crimes are committed, of course, by hoodlums with such impunity, undetected, while, of course, many which are detected in most cases go unresolved.
Now, well-informed observers oftentimes put the blame squarely at the doorstep of the police, as presently or currently constituted. Now, as I say, Nigeria needs to reform its policing system from the current unitary to a federal system which will allow states to form and control their own police forces.
Now, to those proponents of a truly federal police system, or state police, Nigeria police force with only about slightly over 350,000 policemen to protect the 160 million Nigerians is grossly understaffed, of course, untrained, undertrained, ill-motivated, and poorly remunerated, and worse still, corrupt. Now,
that's right. That's unfortunate thing, but the figure you just mentioned, 350, not all of them are used for operational or deployed for operational purposes. A number of them have ancillary duties. Yes.
Indeed, Kingsley. Now, the present police system, it is also argued, is too bureaucratic, and that's due to its seemingly unitary nature, as, of course, decisions are taken very slowly, adding that state police forces will make swift. That's those, of course, who argue for state police, say that it will make for swift and proactive response to crime and strengthen the concept of community policing.
Well, another advantage of the police force, let's just say at the state level, as advocated by its proponents, is that the force will recruit from its local community. And such police officers will, according to the proponents, understand much better the culture and in particular the language of the particular environment they are assigned to protect, and therefore be in a better position to respond to security challenges.
Of course, those again against the idea of establishment of state police have been quite vocal in their criticism of the idea. Now, they believe that state police forces will lead more on their ethnic, regional and religious sentiments, and thereby possibly preparing the grounds for eventual, of course, breakup of the country.
Well, the greatest fear of opponents of a state police system, as you've just indicated, that it could likely be a tool in the hands of, as some persons have said, state governance. And this could also be used as a weapon to witch hunt and then torment political opponents.
Of course, Kingsley, you do know that the state governors have been very consistent, of course, with their, desire and demand for state police. And, of course, that has been, established through the setting up of a 6-man committee to explore the option of actualizing state police in the country.
That's right. Now, the committee formed by the governors, it's mandated to come up with the best way of policing the country in view of the plenitude of security challenges and the attendant costs in terms of property and lives. Now, the decision by the governors was reached after a closed-door meeting that the governors themselves had with the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, and that took place in Abuja not too long ago.
Yes, of course, the Inspector General of Police himself, that's Ibrahim Idris, is unequivocal about his opposition to state police, saying that Nigeria does not yet have the political maturity for such a system and improved funding for the force under the current arrangement. And we do know that he's not the only one, of course, who, has some, reservations about state police at this point in time. There have been other, former IGs, former police inspector generals have also said, look, this is not the right time for Nigeria to commence state police.
All right. Now, in addition to those whom you've ticked off, who else is against the idea of a state police? And is the state police actually the silver bullet that will help solve Nigeria's multifarious criminal issues? And what safeguards are needed if Nigeria, eventually or otherwise adopts the state policing option? All
right. Those are some of the questions that we will put forward to our guests, and you can rest assured that we have people with the competence and, of course, the experience to tell us whither to go. Today, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and it's reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's the first in the new week.
It's a Monday, and the skies are cloudy already over the Federal Capital Territory. Probably it's going to be a wet morning. We're not sure what the weather forecast will be. When we get to that segment, we'll take it. My colleague Claire and I, myself, Kingsley, will welcome you to today's edition of the program, reaching you as always on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's a live broadcast, and the course of the program will have our regular companion segments, and this will include newspaper review, business, sports, and others. Of course, it's a busy weekend for athletics. Double disappointment for Jamaica. Of course, unfortunately, Blessing Okagbare not making it to the final of the ladies' 100 meters dash.
Was I disappointed? Well, she was fourth.
In
She
the
came
semi-finals.
fourth, and I think that was her season best.
Yes,
with a 9.98.
No, 10 points. Yeah, 10 point something. But it was horrible for Jamaica. I mean, I saw the men and then the ladies also last night. But of course, we are taking off with the news right there. Claire has given us the news right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Kingsley. All right, here is the morning news from this end. Now, it was a Black Sunday as unknown gunmen invaded St. Philip Catholic Church, Ozobolo, in Epusigo local government area of Anambra State, and opened fire and worshippers, leaving many people dead and others injured. Now, Governor Willie Obiano, while condemning the incident, condoled the families of those affected by the incident, urging them to remain calm with a promise to offset the bills of those still in the hospital. Meanwhile,
it was an in-house fight. You know, they are native from here, according to the story, which we are working on. And the fight was taken from, they brought into Nigeria, not only Nigeria, but Anambra State, not only Anambra State, to their home village, which is Amakwa of Zubulu, and not only to the home village, they took it to the home of the house of God, which is sacrilege.
We are not going to relent until we bring whoever and the people that perpetrated this heinous crime to book.
We do apologize for the disturbing visuals there. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the Ozobolo church attack in Anambra State by yet to be identified gunmen, describing the incident as an appalling crime against humanity and unspeakable sacrilege. Expressing his grief in a strongly worded statement issued by the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, President Buhari said that there is no justification whatsoever to target church worshippers and kill them in cold blood. He said this kind of atrocity plumbs the depth of depravity and extreme cruelty of the kind that words cannot adequately express. According to the president, there is no religion that does not lay constant emphasis on the sanctity of life, and that all Nigerians must rise up and speak with one voice against these remorseless evil men. And from the National Assembly, President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has expressed deep sadness over the massacre that occurred at St. Philip's Catholic Church, Anambra State, on Sunday. In a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Yusuf Olaniyono, Saraki stated that the killing of worshippers represents the purest kind of evil, and the security services must not stop until the perpetrators are brought to justice. The Senate President condoled with the Nigeria's Christian community, Governor Willie Obiano, the people of Anambra State, and the families of the victims, as well as the survivors of the terrible massacre. And Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has equally described the killing of worshippers in the Catholic Church at Ozobolo, Anambra State, as abominable, barbaric, and inhuman. In a statement by his special advisor on media and public affairs, Turaki Hassan, Speaker Dogara implored security agencies to fish out the perpetrators of the heinous crime and bring them to book. He called for an overhaul of Nigeria's police architecture. The Speaker condoled with the families of the deceased and the entire people of Anambra State. And from the all-ruling Progressives Congress, APC, they've also condemned the attack on St. Philip Catholic Church in Epusigo local government area of Anambra State, describing it as callous and barbaric. A statement by Bolaji Abdullahi, National Publicity Secretary of the party, commiserates with the Catholic Church and called on the security agencies to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous crime are promptly brought to justice. And on to other news, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has commended Nigerians who have continued to excel in their chosen career within and outside the shores of the country, saying Nigeria is bound to reach the top globally. Now, a statement by the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to the acting president, Laolu Akonde, indicates that this was while the acting president received Dr. Oluyinka Olutoye, a US-based doctor who successfully led a medical team that operated on a fetus, winning United States and global acclaim for the feat. In the meantime, the Nigerian army has appealed to religious, traditional, and community leaders, as well as well-meaning Nigerians, especially in the Northeast, to help dissuade people from donating their daughters or wards to Boko Haram terrorists for indoctrination and suicide bombing missions. A statement by Director Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Sani Kuka Sheikh Usman, says the appeal became expedient in view of recent revelations by some intercepted female suicide bombers during interrogations. It was discovered that most of those helpless minors were donated to their terrorist sect by their heartless and misguided parents and guardians as part of their contribution to the perpetration of the Boko Haram terrorist dastardly acts against humanity. And Chairman Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, has emphasized the need for Nigerians to judge the upper chamber of the 8th Assembly by its achievements and facts, and not by sentiment and propaganda. Speaking in Abuja, Senator Abdullahi stated that given the unprecedented performance of the 8th Senate, despite the distractions since it was inaugurated on June 9, 2015, that this remains the highest performing Senate in history of the country, pointing out that the fact speaks for themselves. Senator Abdullahi said the 8th Senate has already passed 128 bills in 26 months. This, he said, is weighed against the 5th Senate that passed 72 bills in 4 years and the 7th Senate that passed 128 bills in 4 years. When it comes to public petitions, he further revealed that the Senate has cleared 82 petitions, juxtaposing against the 6th and 7th Senate that cleared only 6 petitions in 4 years. And the Minister of Works, Power and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says Nigerians must adopt the culture of energy management in order to have stable and uninterrupted power supply. He was speaking at a forum organized by the Petroleum Club in Lagos.
We were told the transition problem is the biggest problem. It's this, it's that, can only generate 5,000 megawatts. The simulated capacity of the transition station is 6,300 megawatts.
And those are the top stories we're trailing for this hour. Kinsley and I will be back shortly to continue with Good Morning Nigeria.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
I'm downloading is on 95%. It's still on.
Huh?
Introducing Airtel Unlimited Data Plans. Get Unlimited 10 for 10,000 naira. Get Unlimited 15 for 15,000 naira. and unlimited 20 for 20,000 naira. Unlimited data, unlimited you.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria, and we are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to take some business news, and on job creation, experts are advocating turning to the informal sector, just as the federal government is offering new savings bonds. Details of this stories with our correspondent, Kolo Mohammed.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Business News. Today being Monday, the 7th of August, the federal government will offer saving bonds with two different tenors, precisely 2-year and 3-year tenors respectively. Expectedly, the captive nature of the money market at this point in time, coupled with the risk-free nature of government securities, will sustain investors' appetite. In reaction to the offer, the overnight or open buyback rates will experience strains. This is as the stock market opens for trading this week. And on bridging the gap of unemployment, experts are advocating turning to the informal sector of the economy. Empowering artisans in the informal sector, they say, will expand business environment and pull more people out of poverty onto the path of financial independence.
Urge, especially the youth, to really be more technically oriented. Our system of education or our society nowadays puts a lot of emphasis on the actual paper certificate that one gets. And I always say that I've worked in the United States for a long time for General Motors, and up till the time I accepted to come back to Nigeria and work for and had the NADDC. General Motors, all the time I worked there, never asked for my certificate. All they were interested in was my ability to conceive and conceptualize new types of vehicles that would add value to the company and to the American economy and hence the global economy. So we as Nigerians must begin to realize the importance of practical competency. Yes, we must continue to go to universities and polytechnics and other institutions, but the important thing is not the certificate that you get or the paper degree. The important thing is how have you developed yourself to be in the best position to make a contribution to the development of Nigeria. So I hope that we continue to do that so that this country achieves true success.
Adding that the policy will be expanded to reach the grassroots. That's Business News. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly. Thanks for watching.
All right, Kolo Mohammed, thank you very much there for the business package. Next for us, we go to the front pages of today's newspapers, and I'm sure you can guess what the stories are that are common to the front pages this morning.
And it's the same headline stories in all the papers. Of course, it was Black Sunday in Ozobolo yesterday. But first, let me welcome Bayo Atoyebe, reviewer. Bayo, welcome.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley.
All right, Bayo, pleasure to
Good morning, Nigeria.
join us in the review segment, Claire.
All right, all the papers, like I said earlier on, of course, carry the story. It's a front page story for all of them. Let me just quickly, glance through the headlines. Daily Sun says bloodbath in Catholic Church and comes with quite a number of riders. And also, Daily Trust captions condemnation trace Anambra Church attack. Also has quite a number of riders. And the same Tribune carries the same story as, of course, its lead story. But let me stay with the Sun. And the Sun has a figure, 11 killed, 18 injured as gunman. Now, it's gunman shoots worshippers during Sunday service. And Buhari, Dogara, Wike, Ngige, Uba, APC condemn attack. We will fish out perpetrators, and that's coming from the police. There are details of the story on pages 4 and 9, but you can see some of the picture stories there, and some of them we already showed you in the course of our morning news, and, they're there for you to see. Trending stories at the bottom. PSC suspends promotion in police. Details of that on page 5. and fears over 17,000 live bombs in Owerri. It comes to the rider. Expert raises the alarm, accuses FG of refusing to pay for destruction of the explosives. Now, Atiku, Kalu, others stopped third term. Larry Essien tells Namani. Details of that on page 11. Now, Oshibajo, that's the acting president, withdraws 2 ICPC nominees under investigation. Details of that on page 11.
All right, the lead story for Blueprint newspaper, and this day, the lead stories are also on the horror that took place yesterday in Anambra State. Horror Sunday, that's the kicker for the Blueprint, and it has a double-decker headline, Gunman Kills 8 Worshippers in Anambra Church. So we'll fish out culprits. That's attributed to Governor Obiano and the police. It's sacrilegious, according to Ekweremadu. You can see the photograph of the church building there, as well as inside a scene from the bloody incident that took place yesterday. Now, it's also the late story, as I indicated, for this day newspaper. This day, that's the bottom half of the front page. It comes with a rider, and then a headline says, Bloody Sunday in Anambra as gunman kills scores in church. Buhari, Saraki, Dogara, and Khan condemn killings and demand justice for victims. Bio.
Yes, Governor Obiano of Anambra State has advised that people should wear crepe, black dress, to mourn that unfortunate incident that happened in the church yesterday. The police in Anambra has clarified that so far 12 persons were killed and 18 others injured. Some papers had reported 35, some even said 41. But the facts are now beginning to come to the surface. There was only one lone gunman, not gunmen as was reported. The Commissioner of Police for Anambra State, Garba Umaru Baba, has said that one of the feuding parties, in fact, built the church where it happened. It is not a terrorist attack in the mode of insurgency. Vanguard titles the whole episode as Drug War Spills into Anambra Church, while The Nation says gunman kill 11 over drug barons rivalry. And the indications are that 2 persons who are from that village, Ozubulu village, carried out their crisis from outside the country. And they actually drove in an SUV van to the church, having spotted the vehicle of the other party they were looking for. One man went into the church with a gun, and he didn't see who he was looking for. He shot at his father and several other persons. Governor Obiano has vowed that he will do all in his power to bring the perpetrators to justice. So far, 50 doctors have been mobilized to the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital to take care of those wounded, and the Anambra State government will pick up the bills. Meanwhile, the president of Christian Association of Nigeria, Dr. Samson Ayokunle, has commiserated with the Catholic Secretariat, and he has asked federal government to do all it can to ensure that proliferation of arms are limited. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki, and Speaker Yakubu Lugora have all condemned the gunman that went killing 12 persons in the church. President Muhammadu Buhari says he is in sympathy with the families of the victims and says that it is an appalling crime against humanity and unseparable sacrilege. Talking about President Muhammadu Buhari, over the weekend, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, has described President Muhammadu Buhari's recovery as a testimony of God's healing. You will recall that Archbishop of Canterbury also visited President Muhammadu Buhari 8th of March during his first medical vacation. He also visited him over the weekend, and he said the rapid recovery of President Muhammadu Buhari is as a result of prayers of millions of people around the world.
Okay. All right, Bayo, thanks. I think that the expressions of grief and horror by Nigerians, from all walks of life over what happened in Anambra. It's perhaps one of the first steps. I believe that, the thing is, if there's an indication as to who the perpetrators were, people might have been, or what the source or cause of this might have been, and that's a useful lead. The next thing is to say, let the law take its course.
The law should take its course.
It is immaterial whether the conspiracy occurred extraterritorially, and of course there's an indication that these same gangsters have been behind obviously like a gangland warfare that they've been having outside the shores of Nigeria. It's horrific to have this kind of incident happen. So if you know that, as the police authorities have indicated, then that's the first step, to bringing them to justice, and it should be done swiftly.
Yes, even in situations of war, places of worship are off mark of attack, and so this is very inexplicable. But I thought some persons are even in sympathy and saying that the person who they were looking for has been very good to the community and been tiring rules. That is the danger in taking resources and money from persons without inquiring about their source of livelihood.
And they said perhaps these persons are in their 30s. Yes. We were born after 1980, and then we're having this kind of horrific stories.
Well, let's move on. Kingsley, remember we talked about breastfeeding, and of course the importance of breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding last week. On page 3 of Daily Trust, there's a story there that says that wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, will be opening breastfeeding centers in Kebbi, and the centers were approved by the government of Kebbi State in, of course, the secretariat, that's the government secretariat, and of course to make the workplace conducive for breastfeeding mothers. And I think this is commendable. That is why I picked up that story.
Yes, it's very good because the wife of the president had actually advocated that places of seclusion should be provided in workplaces for nursing mothers to have time to breastfeed their children. You recall that some years back, it was allowed to have special rooms for children to be brought even to the offices. The idea is to encourage breastfeeding. And the encouraging news is that 97%, that is the score for Nigeria when it comes to breastfeeding. And the Minister of Health is on record as saying that Nigeria still wants to go all hog and end the other 3% to make it 100% breastfeeding.
But exclusive breastfeeding, we scored 25%. That's part of the information. 25%.
Yes, 25%.
Okay, there was a report that indicated
the drive is to get it up to 50%.
That's right.
By 2018. That's by next year.
Let's take this story that should be of very quickly. Two stories from the Blueprint front page. 2 or 3 stories, by the way. Blueprint. It says, JAMB announces 2017 UTME cutoff marks August 21st. Details of that story can be found on page 7. And then also on the front page there, you have bird strike stars Medview Airlines Pilgrims Airlift. That's on page 17. Now, below the photograph on the front page of Blueprint newspaper, the story that already about Shubajo drops 2 ICPC nominees under probe. That's on page 6 now. Fish head consumers risk respiratory tract ailment.
Are you serious?
Fish head. And the fish is catfish. And this is coming from a professor of nutrition and toxicology. He's talking about the environment in which a catfish is prepared, is reared, particularly in the southern parts where you have a lot of pollution of the waters by, on account of petroleum exploration and other activities.
Okay, so not all fish heads?
No, not all fish. This is catfish. Is that the one they call a rubber or something?
The catfish.
The catfish.
The way Claire Love indicated that maybe that is her specialty, the part that she likes.
Not at all, because I know quite a number of people here, including my producer, who loves fish head. All right.
How do you grapple with the bones? The head is full of bones. All right, but just this day, bio, a story on the economy. This is very significant. We're discussing the state of the economy the other day above the nameplate of this day newspaper. Just before we wrap it up, we'll be able to discuss this. It says banks in dilemma as customers and investors shun deposits for treasury bills. Treasury bills. That treasury bills are going for minimum 18%. So why would you go and put your money in a fixed deposit to earn 10%? Okay. And CBN and NCC to tighten conditions for swim swap and extends BVN enrollment deadline for microfinance banks and other customers.
Okay, and Governor of Benue State says he needs 40 billion naira to clear workers' salaries, and that's against the background of, well, the ultimatum given to him by the state chapter of the NLC. All right.
All right, that's the much we can take. Baya Toyobe, thank you for being here. As you said, following the horror of yesterday.
Yes.
In Anambra. We'll see you tomorrow for the newspaper review.
Tomorrow will be another day.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria. Still, we're taking a short break. When we return, the principal item for discussion this morning, state policing in Nigeria, to be or not to be.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You are here already?
No, now my spirit day here. My body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jam questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Better.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
This week, your rib-cracking comedy, Professor John Bull, takes a swipe at how we think we belong among the human race while others do not belong.
Albinos, a hunchback, and everyone else in their category. Anywhere they enter, there's bad luck.
Simply because they possess certain genetic differences from the majority.
What do you want?
I want to buy banana.
Please go.
Why we all feel pain, joy, and human blood flows in all of us.
Nani people went to your shop.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah. Any naming ceremony names you want to get to it. I does not care.
Keep a date with Professor John Bull in this episode titled Not One of Us.
So these people not give the work. They said the post is no longer vacant.
Over and out. Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Here's your order.
I think this is not exactly what we ordered. I ordered a Coca-Cola Zero.
No problem. I can give you 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a great Coca-Cola taste. Here's the Coca-Cola Zero you ordered. Do it again. You still look like you need a Coca-Cola. Why don't you sneak inside your bag?
Forever, yeah, feel together, together.
Enjoy.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria, and now we're getting to our discussion segment after we wrapped up our newspaper review a while ago now. How to effectively tackle the widespread insecurity in the country is a matter that has continued to engage the attention of government functionaries and other stakeholders, with a number of proponents these days calling for the establishment of a state police as part of the rubric for dealing with insecurity in the country. As a prompt for our discussion this morning, let's join our correspondent Oyemi Ajayi with the background report.
State Police is a sub-national territorial police force with the primary goals of ensuring safety of motorists on interstate highways, enforcement of traffic laws on those interstate highways, and they also enforce statewide law and investigate criminals. The United States, Canada, and some Asian countries have long embraced state policing for these responsibilities. In Nigeria, the term state police was first recommended in 2009 during the Constitutional Law Review Report of the National Think Tank and later in the Vision 2020 report. Since then, it has been a major controversial and sensitive topic of debate on whether Nigeria indeed needs state policing. Those that argued in support blamed the uneven distribution of security agencies to all parts of the country, suggesting that some states are more prone to more criminals and terrorist activities as major reasons for Nigeria to consider state policing in the country. They have also argued that most security agencies deployed to some states or areas have little or no knowledge of the local environment, and this leads to ineffective and inefficient policing in those areas because most crimes are carried out untraced. Corruption among the Nigerian police have been some points held by these people and have campaigned for the creation. Those who campaigned against state police talk about duplication of responsibilities of the Nigerian police. They have also quoted Section 214, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, which says there shall be a police force for Nigeria, which shall be known as the Nigerian Police Force, and subject to provisions of this section, no other police force shall be established for the Federation or any part thereof. As it is, the continuous terror attacks in parts of the country, especially in the north, has made more quarters to consider the need for it. Just recently, the governors rose after a meeting in Abuja to set up a committee to interface with the police and come up with a decision on the state policing initiative, which would be presented before Acting President Yemi Osinbajo for further action. They will also come up with safe strategies of policing in order not to interfere in the duties of Nigerian police and other security agencies. On his part, the Inspector General of Police has said that Nigeria is not yet ripe for state policing and that all Nigeria Police Force needs is adequate funding. The question now is whether the adoption of state policing is the answer to Nigeria's security challenges.
Thank you very much, Oyemi Ajayi, for that elaborate background report. Now we have guests with us here in the Abuja studios as well as from one of our network centers to discuss this subject matter. First, we'd like to welcome once again to our studios after a long while the former Inspector General of Police, Dr. Solomon Arase. Dr. Arase, a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And then also here with us in the studios, former Minister of the Federal Republic and one-time Deputy Governor of Sokoto State, that's Alhaji Mukhtar Shehu Shagari. Alhaji Shehu, a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Clay.
All right, and we also have in our midst this morning Professor of Criminology, Tanibi Lemeka. We'd like to thank you, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you.
And in our Enugu Network Center, we have a senior lecturer in the Department of Public Administration and Local Government Studies, Dr. Innocent Eme Okechukwu. Dr. Okechukwu, thank you very much for joining us.
Very much.
All right.
All right, well, gentlemen, I think it's advisable that we dispense with the preliminaries. We all know what the issues are, what the challenges, some of the challenges that the Nigeria Police Force, as we know it at present, it's what challenges it faces, and so on and so forth. So, getting straight to the heart of the discussion, let's begin with the former Deputy Governor, His Excellency Alhaji Mukhtar Shehu Shagari. Some persons have argued that the apparent unitary policing system we have in the country is a challenge to its effectiveness. What are your thoughts?
Well, you see, sometimes people just talk about things without, sitting down and think about the implications of what they say. First of all, I must say that the Nigerian police has, over a period of time, done quite remarkable work in peacekeeping all over the world. And they've received commendation and so on and so forth. What it simply means is that the motivation they get when they go for peacekeeping operations may most likely be better than the motivation they get when they work here in Nigeria. The problem is not the police. The problem is not the uniform, because it is not the uniform that makes a policeman. It is his character, it is his training, it is his motivation, and also the support the police gets from the public. So I think that before we consistently say, let's do away with the police formation as it is now, and then have a state police, why don't we sit down and look at the real problems of the police in this country. One of it has been mentioned, and that is funding. The police in this country are poorly funded. They are poorly motivated. You meet policemen on the roads. They come over to you, they greet you and tell you that, well, in fact, the boys are here. If they are well paid, if they get their pay when they should get their pay, if they get the motivation and the encouragement, I believe they can do, better. But what we also have to understand is that keeping us safe is not just the responsibility of the police alone. It is our responsibility, all of us. If you look at what was happening before, when you go to a village, for example, you find out that in that village, they may have what they call sarkin baki, meaning someone who takes care of strangers. Any stranger that's coming to that place, if he doesn't have a relation, he goes to him. And the village head will know that, well, first somebody has come. So people were really policing themselves. I think this is something that we have to revive in this country, so that at any point in time, when people come to live with us, we know who they are, we know where they come from, we know what they do, and all this kind of thing. Even in the markets, in those days, you have what we call, well, for second kaswa and so on. These people, when people come to the market, they know who they are, they know where they come from and so on, and they can fish out who the criminals are. I think what we should be thinking about is how do we motivate the Nigerian police and make them better.
Okay, let me put you on hold for now, Alaji, and bring in Dr. Solomon Arase here, who's, of course, written a book in which, of course, he has advanced his views. And just recently, you also made a presentation, and you also talked about, your views concerning the call for state police. But those proponents, for state police are saying, look, it's not because of the strength or the capacity of the Nigerian police, but because of the bureaucracies which hinder the effectiveness of the police. Could you, give us highlights of your advances, against the state police?
Well, the argument on state police is usually emotive. People, they always react. When you talk about state police, everybody wants to see it from its own, point of what advantage that is derivable from having state police. My argument has always been that there've been a lot of white paper on this issue of how do we make the police more effective. I remember President Obasanjo, before he was seated, put together a team. Professor was one of the members of that team, under Damadami, a retired DIG. And one of the things that was identified was that it is true that the police is over-centralized, that there's over-centralization of police functions, especially at the headquarters level. And that if there is, you have that problem, how are we going to go about it? And after the panel had traveled extensively around the country, taking hearing from members of the public, they even went to the United Kingdom to actually see what was happening. They came up with a white paper. And up till now, that white paper has not been implemented. And one of the fundamental issues that was raised in that white paper was that, is it not possible for us to take the DIGs, because at the first headquarters level you have about 7 DIGs, and we have 6 geopolitical zones. Why can't we decentralize, the administrative structure? Take the 6 DIGs, take them to the 6 geopolitical zone. Let them start, having something like a regional security architecture. The AIGs and the commissioners of police under that zone will fall under the administrative and operational purview of the DIG, while the Inspector General will restrict himself to inspecting to ensure that standards are maintained. That way, you find that you are bringing policing, closer to the people. And maybe this agitation of the governors and all these people for state police, it will douse it. Another, very, serious point that came out from that white paper was the issue of why can't the Nigerian Police Council, why can't they meet more regularly? Since all the governors are members of the Nigerian Police Council. The Inspector General of Police is a member. The Police Service Commission chairman is a member. The president is the chairman. And if they meet regularly, the fears, of, giving directives to their commissioners of police and all these things will be constantly discussed at such meetings. And, where there are areas where there are, divergent views, they can be harmonized. So that is the argument. And up till now, that white paper, was never implemented. It contained a lot of things, and the only aspect they talked about, which His Excellency alluded to, was the issue of funding. They were saying that the police is not properly funded. So how do we now harness, the funding regime from the local government to the state government to the federal government? What is supposed to be the federal government's own contribution to the funding of the Nigerian police force? What is supposed to be that of the state government? What is supposed to be that of, the local government? Because now you just discover that some states, I think yesterday I was reading that somebody said he has spent close to 15 billion, trying to, assist the operations of, in Lagos State. Not every state in the federation can afford such huge, funding this thing. So that, and it was now said the vice president will preside over that police reform this thing. Then while at the zonal level, the AIG, the governors, they will meet occasionally to say, what are the funding needs of that, region. And they will now say, this is supposed to be our funding, this is supposed to be the federal government counterpart funding. It's not that we have not articulated all these issues over the years. The idea is that we don't implement anything that, we come out with here.
All right, Dr. Solomon Arase, thank you very much. We'll come back to you later in the conversation. You already touched on some of the key aspects relating to what needs to be done to reform the police for greater effectiveness. Professor Alemika, well, of course, we've had you on Good Morning Nigeria, from time to time, either in discussing the penal system, correctional issues. You've sometimes harked back to the historical challenges that the country faced and why we are where we are as of today. But what is your reaction to the views of persons, again, the same question I posed to the former Deputy Governor of Sokoto State, who say that rather than having a federal police, truly so, what we have is a unitary policing system?
Yeah, I think let's clear a number of confusion. I think the challenge in Nigeria is when we have a problem, we want to look for a shelf where we can buy solution, forgetting that whatever we find on those shelves were solutions that have been fashioned by the respective country to suit their local needs. Let me also assert that in terms of knowledge that is available, national federal police, that means national federal police, are not less effective than decentralized police forces. Officers of national police forces are not less civil than, So in terms of the two police forces, there is no technical superiority of one over the other. So the argument that local police forces are more efficient than the other is apparently not scientifically accurate. What I think people forget is that the police is the face of government. And the police cannot be better than the government that, is in charge. So when you talk about inefficiency of the police, whether at the state, at federal level, ask yourself how efficient are the governors that say the police are not effective? How effective are the institutions over which they currently preside, over which they are in the concurrent list, like education, health, and the rest of them? So I think we need to clear this confusion and all the lies that are told about the superiority of one over the other. However, another argument is structural, that in every federal state you have multi-layer police forces. That is true. My argument is simply that for now, you define police in terms of either name or function. In terms of name, we have only one police in Nigeria, that is Nigeria Police Force. In terms of function, we have hundreds of police in the country. Let me give you an example. In Abuja, what of your Abuja Environmental Protection Agency? It's a police. It performs a policing function. What of, in other countries, customs and immigration are called border police. So the word LASMA in Lagos is a police. It polices, transportation. So states have an avalanche of policing agencies already. And I think once we understand that, the question of whether it's a state or local is irrelevant. What we might call the Nigeria Police Force being the federal with omnibus power was a result of 1966 effort. People forget, in March 1966, it was J.T. Uaguyi-Ironsi that set up a panel and asked the panel to consider the abolition or otherwise of local police forces and the prisons. That report was not ready before the June 29, 1966 coup. July 29, 1966. So it was handed over to Gowon. If you read his remark at the panel, he said one of the reasons he felt, he almost concluded before the panel sat, that the local police force and prison should go for reason of the incompetence of that, corruption, and more especially that local government will have opportunity to focus on health, education, and other things that affect local people and leave higher government to address the issue of police. Today, when I hear people they don't understand this background. So I think what we need to do for me is, how do we police this country? What arrangement is best for this country? And we work out the solution from that point of view. Is it that we can't have a federal police that is responsive to the local people? I think it can be configured. That means that it's a way you can configure a national police that is responsible. It's just a question of saying, look, if you are in a command, this is the kind of structure that operates in the command, and the governor has a role to play, the local government has a role to play, the civil society has a role to play, and it's accountable. Then, of course, community policing is often confused also with the state policing. The community policing also has 3 dimensions. It may mean self-policing, that you police yourself as a community, or it may mean partnership in policing, which the community in partnership with the government police that community. It means the third one, that of course you are policed from outside, either by government or by gangs. So there are all kinds of confusion that we throw out in this country.
Okay, let's hold on a while with that issue of community policing as it affects state police. But let's bring in Dr. Okechukwu from our Enugu Center. Dr. Okechukwu, under the present Constitution of the Federal Republic, state chief executives are regarded as chief security officers, of course, of their respective states. Now, under the present federal arrangement with regards to issue of security and otherwise, are they challenged? Are they really, do they have any issues with that?
Thank you for having me. Yes, they have issues with it, because the real reason why we are having this a challenge of state policing is that the governors wanted an interpretation of that session. The same thing related to it is the aspect of Section 215 that talks about the control of the police force. You see, as other speakers have already highlighted on, you see that to them, they wanted a situation whereby if Section 214 is abolished, that they can now have total control of the police within the jurisdictions. But the appointment of, as Prof actually alluded to, is that the issue with this section of the Constitution is the control, and is the control that is actually fueling these agitations for and against state policing. For instance, as Prof actually highlighted about the levels and operations of the police in some advanced societies, and that's one of the major arguments for state policing by the governors, that if you look at areas if you go to advanced societies like America, France, United Kingdom, Canada, and the rest of them, you see that they, apart from the police force, the central police force, they only have state police, and the ministerial agencies and departments like the police, like the airports, the customs, they have their own. They do a lot of policing with the help of the central government. So it is this aspect that is actually fueling the agitation vote for. Because if you ask the governors, they say that they want Section 214 to be abolished so that they can have control, effective control of them. Because from what we have been seeing, as the former IG actually highlighted, the states are actually helping in trying to build the capacity of the central police force. We have seen what the governor of Lagos State actually said, how much he has expended on the Nigerian police force. And looking at what is happening around us, we should equally learn from such experiences, so that if the centers of governance actually come up with ideas how they can work together as groups, helping one another in governance. Because Prof actually highlighted the issue of governance, because if in a state that the governors are not they are not giving dividends of democracy, you don't expect them to equally, if you are giving them state police, that's such a thing that they will equally do, because that they will do better. And that's gives us the impression that the essence of them agitating for state police is to have more powers given to them to suppress opponents, to cause activities in such states, so that if you give them the state police that are agitating, that this will be a problem we are going to encounter. But the best option is that the federal and the state, the federal government and the state governors should sit together to look at where their views, where they share common views, so that the oppression of the two levels of government will work better, so that the citizens will have more security as we are having now.
Dr. Kechukwu, thank you. Let me again, throw that question to a one-time Deputy Governor of Sokoto State here. Of course, you've had the experience, of what we're talking about. So, under the present arrangement, federal arrangement, are there reasons why the state governors cannot really, act the responsibility as chief security, officers of their respective states?
Well, let me start from my own personal experience as Attorney General of Sokoto State. I worked with two commissioners of police, Bulas Av and, well, of course, late Kaltungo. And we worked closely together, discussing issues relating to the security of the state, how we could prevent some acts, that can create insecurity in the states together, and so on and so on. And we also discussed the issues on how best can we motivate the police in the state for them to feel happy and strong and go out to do their work. And we were quite successful because we fully cooperated, with each other, the police on one side, and then, of course, the government on the other. And don't also forget, at the state level, we have State Security Council, where the Commissioner of Police, Director SSS, and so on and so forth, we meet almost weekly. And whether it's an emergency, we also meet and discuss issues relating to the security, as it affects the states and so on and so forth. So I actually believe that what should be done is there must be collaborative effort between the states, the federal government, and all the security agencies within that state for them to work effectively. I do not think that somebody as a governor will have enough time to be, controlling what the Commissioner of Police is doing and this and that, when he has so many other problems on his table to look at. So I think the issue of security is so important to the extent that it takes a lot of money. And at the moment, we have states that have not been able to pay salaries for almost 6 to 3 months. So if you hand over the police to them, and then this issue of salaries and so on comes up,
well, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry to interject, Alhaji Mukhtar. Some persons have also argued that this is a temporary phase. We're not going to be owing salaries and then governments behaving irresponsibly the way they have done in the last couple of years. But when you were describing your experience in Sokoto with regard to the relationship between the executive branch, of course, and the policing authorities that the Sologi was chummy and all that, could you throw into that mix, as we have seen in other parts of the country, adversarial politics, where, a state governor who says, listen, I'm the chief security officer of the state, he gives instructions to the commissioner of police, his commissioner of police tells him or behaves in a way that says, listen, I'm awaiting further instructions from Abuja. We have seen that happen in different parts of the country, and that's why some of the advocates are saying, no, listen, this is unhelpful for us. So how, from your interaction with your colleagues, when you were in office, how adversely did this affect law and order maintenance in those jurisdictions?
Well, you see, first, for everything you do, there must be checks and balances. Politicians are politicians, and they work for their own interest always. Protecting the office, making sure you get the votes, and so on and so forth. So, politicians as they are now, during many elections, I know that they've tried to influence the police to do their own bidding, to the detriment of the opposition. So if you now give a governor his own police, you can imagine what will be happening in that state, where you have opposition. So that is why I feel that governors should simply, they should simply collaborate with the federal government, give the contributions they have been given in terms of logistics, financing and so on, to assist the police to do their work. As I said earlier, the Nigerian police is an excellent police force because they've done duties outside Nigeria. They've also carried out a lot of duties even within Nigeria, to the admiration of almost everybody. What is required is motivation. What is required is the support of the public to report incidents when they see them, to report suspicions when they suspect that something is simply about to happen, and so on and so forth. So the issue of handing over the police to a state governor to control in a democracy, especially in this country the way we are, I don't think that is the way we should go at the moment. What we should do at the moment is to have proper collaboration on how best we can ensure security of life and property in this country.
All right, Dr. Solomon Arat said the Constitution states, and let me just quote a bit of it, that the Nigerian Police Force shall be under the command of the IGP, and contingents of the Nigerian Police Force stationed in the state shall, subject to the authority of the IGP, be under the command of the Commissioner of Police of that state. Now, under a federal system, is this a misnomer, the way we're practicing it now? And does it present any form of handicap to the state executive in, acting his responsibility?
Well, it depends on the personality of the governor, just as His Excellency has said. There are some state governors that don't constitute, they don't convey the State Security Council meeting maybe in 1 year. They are never there. And if you don't do that and you are reactive, you only react to situations that happen in your state. Whenever they happen, you get the commissioner of police and you want to start giving directives and all this stuff. It's always very, very difficult to do. In states where you have constant, interaction between the commissioner of police, the director, SSS, there's always a seamless, you find that there are usually a seamless relationship. They don't have all the acrimony that you're supposed to have here. There is no Inspector General of Police who will sit down in Abuja and encourage a commissioner of police to disobey, a state executive. I mean, it will be unprofessional. It will not be nice because then you'll be encouraging a state of anarchy. But if you watch the personality of, a state governor, and the way he governs his states is usually a reflection of the crisis that usually, erupts whenever there is a crisis like that. There are a lot of state governors who have never, in the past maybe 2 years, they've not met with their state commissioners, in a formalized meeting. I expect there are some states too where I worked, when I was growing up, on a monthly basis, there was a date fixed that you have the State Executive Council meeting. There were minutes taken. Those minutes, they are circulated to all the, agencies that participated in. And you see, in the column of remark, they are usually saying, okay, you are supposed to do this. You are supposed to do the Director DSS, State Commissioners of Police. So when you have, an administrator who can put his hands, on the issues before they get blocked, then it's easy. And there are some issues that the state cannot deal with, that are trans-border. You don't expect, like what Alemeka said, there's already a semblance of a state police in Lagos State. LATMA is very, very effective in terms of traffic control. In terms of environmental, issues too, they are very, very effective. So, and recently they set up the Neighborhood Watch and brought in, a retired, Deputy Inspector General of Police to help them, galvanize the local government, security into, the state security. So, why can't state governors consign themselves with this thing? This thing should be gradual.
Does that not support the call?
Yes.
Or the desirability of a state police?
No, it does not, because if you when you are going for a full-blown state police, it means you require a lot of expertise in terms of manpower. You require a lot of hardwares. How are they going to purchase the firearms? Are we going to allow 36 states of the Federation to start importing firearms when we're already complaining that there is a proliferation of firearms? You see, these things have to be worked out. I am not against, having a state police eventually. But what we are saying is that it should be gradual. We should mature into it. Most of the places that the doctor was talking about now, alluding to America, United Kingdom, those people are already having a convergence of their, of their police forces. The Homeland Security, for example, after the 9/11, is a classic example of that. 26 security agencies were collapsed into the Homeland Security. And, the former governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Ridge, was now brought in to head that particular, Homeland Security. And it became a cabinet, this thing, under the president's office, which is indicative that they are now saying that issues of, transnational crimes, terrorism, and, other serious crimes cannot be handled by, the local police forces. Okay, the United Kingdom, where we also got our own, policing architecture from, they have 43 counties, which is, equivalent to what we are calling state police here and Wales here. They now have a national crime agency. A national crime agency now that takes care of, all those serious trans-border issues. So you discover that even in those areas where we always, parrot, America, they are already coming together to have an effective federal police system. What we just need to do is just to, get the right manpower profile for the Nigerian police force, fund them, train them, reorientate them. That is exactly what we need. It's not having a proliferation of, policing, all over the place.
All right, Dr. Solomon Orase, and then the other guests. Solomon Orase, I wanted to take you up on some of the aspects you just raised. Two key ones. The idea of a state police should be one that is evolutionary, and that even in making it, going on that tack of evolution, we also have to be cognizant of the convergence that is taking place elsewhere in the world. We have convergence, of course, in several aspects. Media convergence, for instance, corporate governance convergence, and so on and so forth. We'll continue with this conversation after the short break.
News. Oral-B has just been voted Kudos #1 quality toothpaste of 2017 by you. So even though times are hard, as a mother, you know that Oral-B is good for your family's oral health because they deserve the best. It's great value because it protects you against tooth holes and gum problems that can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier and stronger teeth in 1 week.
She does it. Oh, she looks so terrific. Second goal for Canada. One last chance to launch a massive one. Oh my goodness me!
Absolutely beautiful.
That's another championship record. The All-Star once again in the throws. But Bolt's already smiling. Dare we ever doubt him? 19.56. Usain Bolt is just unstoppable.
Right, thank you very much. If you're still with us, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we're reaching you live from the network service of the NTA. We've got quite a number of tweets here with us. Kingsley, do we take them, or you want to put
let's take the tweets, okay, and then we'll return to the guests that we say. Sandy Mankalamankoje has this tweet. Any attempt to grant state police would be a last burial for our security, and it would definitely bring about impunity.
And Ima Osapolo tweets, if opinion of Nigerians on this matter is sought, that state policing will be rejected.
Festus Akimboyewa tweets, nothing wrong with the current single policing in Nigeria as forces are still based on the states. Now, what's needed is proper funding of frontline policing. Single policing guarantees consistency of training and better information sharing. And what happens if states can't pay salaries of their police?
And Dele Jack Solomon tweets again, whether federal or state police, the primary responsibilities remain the same: to prevent crime, uphold the laws, detect and investigate crime. Now, the greatest challenge facing the Nigeria police is paucity of modern equipment for effective control. Let it remain under the purview of the FG.
Victor Ohioswoma tweets, now state police is imperative under a true federal system. The federal police cannot cope. The National Assembly should streamline their functions to check abuses.
And Hassan Labran tweets, federal government should not grant any states the control of police force, as reckless politicians can easily use to realize their aims.
And this is Oko Ofoboche. It says state police should exist alongside federal police under the Inspector General of Police and an elected sheriff, so the IG can override commissioner when the governor interferes.
And this is coming from Samuel Tega, and it says, which state policing? Is it state governors who can't pay teachers, civil servants, pensioners that will fund police?
And Ibrahim Tudu tweets, in Nigeria today, we need both a new reformed police force and a cogent framework for community police. We need both.
And Comrade Tamori Abdul, either single or multiple police system, Nigerians deserve maximum security. Let government at all levels give Nigerians the kind of security they deserve.
Now, this is from Hassan Labran. It says to avoid or reduce undue security lapses of the country, the federal government should not and ever let any state have their own police force.
And this one is from Cecilia Okoroma. We've had vigilante groups in most localities all over Nigeria. Therefore, if they are strengthened and encouraged, give the vigilantes whistleblow, work hand in hand with the Nigeria police, the insecurity challenges will definitely reduce.
Now, Ibrahim Tudu tweets, a thorough, diligent, effective, and workable framework can make state police idea practicable. We must get things right in this country.
And Lawal Olaiya tweets, Nigeria should grow up. Time for state police is long overdue. All these arguments about governor using them for their own purposes is rubbish.
Shakiru tweets, it says governors that cannot pay salaries can't fund police.
And Samuel Sega again tweets, the citizens are not asking for state police. Only the governors are agitating for state police to use them against political opponents.
Abiodun Ayinde tweets, please, let's discuss how to enhance and fund the Nigeria police force. State police is selfish and can be politically hijacked.
And this one is coming from Haina Tufe Solomon. And it tweets, state policing seemingly a good idea, but we are not ready politically. Decentralizing police administration structure is better.
All right, now these are some of the reactions from our viewers on the Good Morning Nigeria. We still have all our guests, the guests at Enugu, Dr. Okechukwu, former Deputy Governor of Sokoto State, Elijah Mukhtar Shagari, Professor Etanibi Alemike, and Dr. Solomon Arase, former Inspector General of Police. Next question goes to Professor Alemike. Professor Alemike, of course, you've taking in the comments of the other guests on the program, along, of course, with the reactions from our viewers. But while you were explaining your position earlier, you did indicate, and rightly so, that, look, we already have a semblance of decentralization of the police in terms of the fact that for traffic, for environmental issues, and so on and so forth. And if you were to go to Kano, for instance, you also have the Hisba that is there. And some persons have tended to use the plenitude of these various policing arrangements to drive their argument for a state police force. And that the key point to actually worry about is how to streamline the jurisdictional operations of the federal police versus subnational police. What is your comment?
Yeah, I think technically there are ways you can talk about level of force. There are ways you can configure police, multi-layer police institutions. Sometimes might be the level of force where you have a state police which is not allowed to bear arms above certain caliber or not bear arm at all. And you have a local police force that is allowed to do certain things and not even maintain a detention center. That's why I say we need to think and say, what can police at various levels do? My argument is we once had local police force. Why are people not talking of local police? Because the America that we also talk about, the most effective police are the local police. They are not state police. And most of the state police are almost, interstate, highway patrol, and the rest of them. The daily policing is done by the city police. For example, it is not New York State Police that is really that we know about. It is the New York City Police that the NYPD that we talk about. So there are a lot of configuration. On a program like this, there is so much to summarize, and I think we miss it. What I would just say is that Nigeria need to stop buying Tokumbo models of ideas, of practices, and then come politically here, hit the whole place as an argument. As IGP retired has said, it's not just convergence. In 1946, Britain had 121 police agencies, police forces. By 2000, it's been reduced to 41. By today, almost every vital decision and policy related to the 43 policies are made by the Ministry of Home Affairs, including standard of training, including recruitment, qualification. So Britain has 43 police under the coordination of the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is a national police. The same thing has happened in many other countries. And this, of course, if you talk to American experts, they will tell you that They regret that they have so much police forces, today, and wish it had not happened. And people should think about, understand this rather than simply reading history book and think things are the way they used to be that they are today. I'm not against, and I think indeed that's what we should do. I think what Nigeria wants is a police that is visible, accessible, friendly, and has the capacity to deal with their problem, that they can sit together and set their priorities in those communities. I think that's what Nigerians need. And I think that's why I said it is not that only state police can do that. You can configure a federal police to achieve that if you think through it. The IGP had mentioned the Nigeria Police Council. The Nigeria Police Council, of course, was supposed to set the structure of policing in this country. I'm not aware since 1999 whether that council has met in the way it ought to. It is only when, and probably most of the time, when an IGP is to be confirmed, and then there is a council of state, not that they are even called purposely for that. Usually, most of them had happened on the back of a council of state. So after council of state, maybe the president just gathered them into one room and said, I have chosen Solomon, and I say, I want to confirm, do you have an objection? But they are supposed to meet quarterly and, of course, have a viable secretariat. What we now, the Confucian Minister of Police Affairs, Ministry of Interior, it ought to be the secretariat. That council ought to have a secretariat. And as he said, this is a council that is made up of the president as the chairman of Police Service Commission, the inspector general, and all the 36 governors. Why are they not interested in effective functioning of this institution so that they can set up a policing arrangement? Okay. I think somebody talked about empirical issue. I think it was the 6th House of Representatives which actually had a survey, which is a general survey of Nigeria, and the notion of state police was rejected in that, when I think it was a period they were trying to amend the constitution that they had that. So it is not, the question is not whether state police, or I don't want us to pose the question of either or. But my argument is we have security challenges. How can they be best police? My argument always is this, and I want to say that, why are we infatuated with police when we do know that most crimes are committed by people who are deprived of certain basic power, resources, and opportunities in society? Why don't we spend more providing those opportunities as preventive measure? Why are we so enamored?
Okay, but while we keep that at bay, let's look at the viability of a state police. And we've all here, including Dr. Kechukwu in Enugu, that has, said that, okay, state police is desirable. But the question is whether we are politically matured at this time, for it. And, Prof, you also talked about earlier on the issue of community policing, and I said I'll put you on hold there. Now, government is contemplating a framework, to begin to probably implement community policing. And I'm asking, structurally, is it in any way different? That's as a way of moving forward. Is it in any way different from state policing? And can we find a nexus, between community policing and state police, as a way of moving towards actualizing the state police?
Yeah, if we're simply looking for technical efficiency and legitimacy, community policing will be adequate. But if we're looking for control and power for governance, it will not satisfy anybody. Why would community policing satisfy? The idea of community policing says basically the police in a community should co-produce safety with the community. That means they are partners in first identifying what the main concerns are. That means if you live in Nyanya, the police district in Nyanya will come together along with the community and say, what is our priority here? What are the crimes that give us concern? They may identify burglary. You go to Kuje, they say, well, no, we don't have burglary here. It is in fact some gangs, some street children that are disturbing us. You go to Gwagwalada, they will say the police should, they should be bound by those decisions. And there, of course, plan along with society, along with the community, how do we find resources, or what resources do we need? Who has those resources? Which group within the community are better able to contribute to this, to solve our problem? And then, of course, it means even the IG sitting in Abuja, within the framework, has devolved power to be able to do this to the police command at that level. It does not require a state police to devolve those kind of power to that level that you must be responsible to those levels. That's why I say if we are looking for technical efficiency, you do not require a state police. But if you're looking for a police to be controlled, of course that will not satisfy the state. So there are so many issues involved. Look at the section you quoted, you didn't finish it, where it says the IG may refer. It actually goes further to say that the president may appoint a minister, I'm not quoting verbatim, may appoint a minister that will in fact act on his behalf in relation to the police and give command to the police, which it must comply with. The governor of a state may in fact also have a commissioner, which is assigned responsibility, which may give order to a police, which must comply, except in. So we have used the exceptional as the norm. It's an except. So it is where the legality of the directive of the governor is in doubt that the commissioner is to ask for directive. But we use the exception as the rule in our interpretation of that section. Let me also say that there is no place in our constitution where I've not found it, where the state governor is described as the chief security officer. It's not written in our constitution. Because 1999 constitution came and our people like big name executive governor, chief security officer, CEO. We keep ascribing so many of these things to the constitution. No, they are not in the constitution. But of course, he has a responsibility for governance. Let me also say this. When the state say we help the police, we help the police. I live in Plateau. I pay my tax to government. Payee goes to the state. So who is supposed to be responsible? So when you give Nigeria police some money to protect me, you're not doing the police a favor.
Well, yes, under the current arrangement, where they say they are a federal structure and then they have their, their own budgetary system.
I think the argument is institutional, is structural, that in a federal system, functions are located to the what you might call the federating unit and the center. And I think that is the argument that in most federal states, almost all federal states, what we have is there is a police that is subnational. It does not necessarily that it is at the level of the state. Some are at the level of local government, some are at the level of region. In fact, there are those that have 3 layers. They have central, region, provinces. And of course, the police is at the regional, not at the provinces. That is why I say we shouldn't just go to the shelf and buy a model.
A Tokubo model.
Yes, that is operating. But unfortunately, in this country, we are very gluttonous in creating institutions and in wanting to amass power to ourselves.
All right, that's Professor Alemika. Thank you very much. Dr. Arasa, that's a point about community policing in terms of the explanatory framework provided by Professor Alemika. It was talking about, say, listen, okay, the community and then the police authorities, have a shared responsibility in ascertaining the major security challenges they have to confront and how to go about it. Now, earlier you also talked about the fact that the Nigerian police appears, is over-centralized. Now, what has happened from what we know? There was a time zonal structures were created. You have AIGs, who are in charge of the various zones. Then you have the state commands, you have area commands, you have the DPO, and so on and so forth. Is it that all of this, the current structure, is ineffective on account solely of poor funding, or there are more fundamental issues, including the point you articulated earlier, namely that the police council itself is not meeting timeously to either apprehend or deal with potential security challenges and then design a framework or issue policy guidelines to the police authorities?
Well, my take on that would be that we've not been able to operationalize, these issues. They are very simple issues. Our traditional, the Excellency mentioned how our traditional African societies were managed, where they had people, you come into a village, they can easily identify you in the market, and new people who identify you. In modern times, you can also, identify non-state actors in our various communities, vulcanizers, taxi drivers, journalists, lawyers. What you just have to do, if you have, an area commander or a divisional police officer who is creative, all you have to do, once in a month or quarterly, you assemble these people together. They are within the same community. You assemble them together and sit down with them maybe on a Saturday. when you know that the pressure of work, is less. And say, okay, these are the issues. Maybe you must have crime mapped, your area of operation. You say, oh, we have been having issues of constant thefts. Or the people steal their motorcycle. How do you think we can, find, a solution to these things? And they sit down and talk about them. And, once the police is able to open up, when they are able to reach out to the people, you discover that the people will warm up to them. You see, when you have a police force that try to distance itself from the people that are supposed to govern, then you always have, these issues. So it's a very simple thing. It had been in operation, but it requires some more dedication by, it is not the Inspector General of Police who is sitting down here in Abuja who has to, you can set a template. Say, okay, it is compulsory that all the divisional police officers, once a month, you meet with, the non-state actors in your state to devise a security architecture for that particular local government.
Yeah, but we always had for some decades now, we've had the PCRC, that's the Political Committee.
They've been very effective. They've been very, very effective. But that, sometimes the police tend to, restricts the PCROC to issues like maybe helping them repair the DPO's office, fixing a broken down vehicle, but the real issue, getting them to get information that they can use in policing their area and helping them to arrange themselves in such a way that we have already neglected that. We have issues of sustainability in the system. That is just the truth. All these are issues that have been articulated over the years. It's just for the successive administration to sustain these things and make it work.
Okay, we're just driving home now, and that's why we're going to Dr. Okechukwu in our Enugu Network Center. Dr. Okechukwu, the immediate IGP, the former IGP, and indeed most of them say, give us more money and you will see a better Nigeria police force. My question is the Nigeria police force redeemable if these things are done? Or if we do have a state police, take for instance the incident on Sunday in Ozobolo, would it have been prevented, nip in the bud, before so it happened?
Yes. What actually happened in Ozobolo is a very pathetic action. It can be nip in the bud if actually government does the needful. One, by funding security agencies very, very well, especially the Nigerian police. For instance, if you look at the statistics of the manpower, we see that from the report the incumbent IG gave when he was defending the police trust fund bill, he nearly shedded tears because of what is happening. How many personnel do the army, do the police have? Less than 50,000, policing over 118 million people. And you see that from the United Nations benchmark, the country is lacking behind. One policeman is to 1,602. And today, he's asking, in 2008, the former IG was asking for 289 million yearly to properly fund the police. This year, it had moved to 1.3 trillion naira. And look at the budget. So if you look at the budget of Nigeria and the one that goes to security, that's only police. What about other paramilitary agencies and the armed forces? You see that it's very, very important that we fund these people and recruit more. And from his statistics, he said that he required roughly 30,000 men every year for the next 5 years. And when the advertisement was made last year, nearly 1 million people applied, and how many were they looking for? 10,000. So a very big problem. Had it been that the police is properly funded, in order to enable them have equipment, because today security is the the issue of policing go beyond physical policing. We have to. They need more advanced technologies to do the policing effectively. And had it been that they had enough funding, they can have CCTV and even ask churches, banks, and the big companies to have CCTV cameras so that policing can easily be done. At the same time, from what happened in Ozobolo, in that state, remember they have the local vigilante, and for them, though they might have been taken unawares, but it's very, very important that we increase funding of our police force. Manpower is very, very important. Equipment, every hand should be on deck to help us address this challenge. It's a very big problem, because even if you have 1 million structures without adequate funding, you cannot even with this thing that the governments are making, argument they are making that give them the state police, they will do this, they will do that. Remember, they equally need money to pay, and it is not, security is not a tea party. So they need to actually look at some of these things and they fund the police well. And if the trust fund bill passes, I'll be happy. Even if every person in Nigeria devote part of his earning, at least if it is as a academic staff, I'll be happy if I'm asked to pay even 1% of my salary to support the police. I'm very, very, because all of us we are living in a very pathetic place. So it's very, very important that we help us. It is not only the governance and security issues are not government alone. We should help the police. But the problem is this. If we are giving information police, are we sure that the information we are giving that will be protected? At the same time, they will act accordingly. So these are the things that if we do the needful, we should support the police.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Okechukwu there from our Enugu Network Center, just to indicate that we have another set of tweets which we are taking right now before we return to our other guests here with us in the Abuja studios. Our lead concern tweet: state police will only increase the overzealousness of governance. Funding and lopsided promotions and poor training are the issue with the Nigeria police force.
Right, and Abdul Karim Duro tweets, let's tell ourselves the truth. Our problem is not the system, but the human component. Let the majority of us change and things will work.
Adebayo Tunji Victor tweets, state police is a good idea, but we are not mature because some politicians will use it to oppress other parties.
All right, and Nathaniel Shok tweets, state police is a good idea. Is that what you read, Kingsley? No. But the problem is, can the states be able to harness them very well to get the desired result?
All right, now that's another one from Raf here. Raf tweets, it says most of the states don't even have the capacity to operate and fund state police. Also, the issue of control and misuse cannot be taken off the table.
And change to progress states. Main problem of state police is the attitude of governors and president. However, it is better to manage one obtuse leader than 36 obtuse ones.
Wale tweets, now why should a commissioner of police wait for a governor to do his job of crime prevention and ensuring peace in the land? It is just wrong.
And Issa Gaddafi tweets, Nigeria police is best in the world. Let federal government look into the salary, welfare, barracks, enroll them in IPPIS.
Tokwe Mike tweets, he said it's a good idea, but how many states can meet up? That's according to Tokwe Mike, as one of your guests said with regard to Lagos.
All right, Clifford Agwegusi tweets, there is always an intricate relationship between structure and activity. Structure of the state police defines its activity.
Nathaniel Shock tweets, I think the core issue with Nigerian police boils down to motivation. They are basically not well motivated to perform well.
And Gift tweets, one can hardly hear that police foil an attack in Nigeria. they're always very far from the scene of incident. Nigeria police, now wow.
Joshua Daniel tweets, it says they should, that's to say the idea of a state police, be put into law or make a law that will restrict the state government from their affairs.
And lastly, Shanez Esang tweets, Nigerians are used to a proliferation of agencies with inherent contradiction. Harness the scattered policing agencies for effectiveness.
All right, now those are the second set of tweets that we have taken. We are pressed for time. Now let's bring in again Alhaji Mukhtar Shehu Shagari into this. One argument that you have seen canvassed a bit more frequently in the tweets that we have taken is sort of the potential for abuse by politicians. They will use them against their political opponents and so on and so forth. Now, how would you respond to the counter-argument by proponents of state police, namely that, look, the fact that you have state police doesn't mean that the federal police or other agencies of security agencies of government, like the military, the DSS, will be in abeyance. That's one leg of it. Second leg also has to do with the fact that in terms of abuse, people say that the situation that you had in the 1960s, 50 years ago, is not the same today. Rights consciousness and awareness has improved dramatically. So like the abuses that we had with the native authority police force, you are unlikely to have that continue under the current arrangement if you had state police. So how do you deal with the issue of potential abuse against the counter-arguments of saying, look, there are ways to also deal with abuses by state governors, since you still have the military, federal police, and the DSS?
Well, you see, first and foremost, let me say something about this thing that happened in Anambra State. To think that the police or any security agency anywhere in the world can prevent 100% the occurrence of things like that is an impossibility. We have to understand that. The Nigerian police is doing the job it's supposed to do, but it cannot prevent the happenings of things like that, which means that all of us have to be the policemen of ourselves, that we should be very, 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 very conscious of what is happening around us and so on. Now, the issue of fight abuse, of course, I'm a politician, and I cannot vouch for any other politician that when you hand over or when you create state police, the politicians will not use it for their own purposes. Even the police, as constituted now, are sometimes being penetrated by the politicians to do certain things that are really not good for the society, just to satisfy themselves. So I actually feel, and strongly so, that this idea of state police is premature. We have a police force, as I've said earlier, that has given account of itself at so many levels, both at the local level, at the national level, and at the national level. What is really needed is the motivation and the support and the equipment, and also to ensure that the welfare of the police officers and men are being properly taken care of. Salaries are being paid in time, allowances are being paid in time, and also insurance is there for the policemen in case of anything that might happen in the course of duty. And I would want to say that the governors can work effectively with the commissioners of police, as I have said earlier, to collaborate fully and ensure security within the state without the governor having his own policemen.
Okay, let's bring Dr. Arase now. We keep on talking about Nigeria not being ripe for state police, while we also believe that state police is desirable. In October will be 57. Now, if we are to move towards state police, as a first step, what should give in?
Well, when people keep talking about manpower profile of, they don't have sufficient manpower, it is not the number that matters. It is the quality of policemen that you have that determines a police force. So we should start taking a look at our recruitment policy of policing. There is no state in this country today that cannot boast of first-class materials that should come into the police force. The police force should not just be a dumping ground for anybody. You know, the way we've treated our police force in this country, it tends to give you the idea that it's only the stubborn person in your family that you encourage to go into the police force. A police force is not built up that way. We should look for the best materials, then also take a look at our technology. United Kingdom, 2 or 3 years ago, they had about 4.8 million CCTVs across the United Kingdom and Wales. So the governors should, deploy some of their resources into putting CCTV here. Most of the crimes that were detected in UK and America and all this, is it through the physical presence of policemen? No.
Yeah, we saw that recently. The Zenith Bank robbery after where it was CCTV that captured that. Yes.
So we should start thinking about putting all these things in place. I am not against state police, but I believe that once we have been able to put our manpower in place, put our technology in place, change the orientation of Nigerians, towards the police force, then I think we should be set.
Professor Alemika, your closing thoughts very quickly. In terms of recruitment policy that Dr. Arase just talked about, is it possible to begin to populate the police with some of our best and brightest?
Yeah, I think we should do that, but I think we need also to manage waste. You have so many agencies. You go to any function, you find 5 paramilitary agencies, all are there at the same time, overwhelming the participant. That is a waste. So we need a lot of rationalization. As I said, technology is important. We are here seated thinking about state police. In the countries that we quote so often, UK, they are moving away from even government police. And they are now using security architecture, which involve technology. Even out in South Africa, you go there, you find in complexes, what they are trying to do is to get the police to become watchers of CCTV. Every shop has its own, so when something happens, it's just police responding to the call. I think what is wrong with our police is not the number of crime that we have, it's the capacity of the police to proceed. I always tell when friends, from
proceed or prevent.
Yes, well, prevent. I'm not sure. You never know when crime is prevented. It is when it has occurred that everybody blame everybody. You don't know the number that they have prevented. That is part of the crisis of police. You don't know what they have prevented. It is only when they don't prevent that we have a crisis. So I think finally is we need to invest more in technology. If you use technology, you need more intelligence. Everyone must also invest in technology. Unfortunately, because we do not have infrastructure, you cannot install a lot of this technology that will work and then complement the effort of the police. But I think we should stop emphasizing government security and begin to look at networks that include individuals' effort, companies' effort, private commercial security effort, and the government. I think it's this kind of architecture that we need to look at.
All right, Professor Etanibi Alemika, Professor of Criminology at the University of Jos. Always a delight having you on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciation also to the former Inspector General of Police, Dr. Solomon Arase. Dr. Arase, a delight having you on the program, and thanks also for your insights.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks also to the former Deputy Governor of Sokoto State and also former Minister of the Federal Republic, Alhaji Mukhtar Shehu Shagari. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you very much. Can we remove the force from the police?
That's part of the amendment passed by the National Assembly that they want to remove the force. So President Obasanjo tried to do that on his own, but he didn't quite say through because he didn't follow the proper procedure. But the National Assembly has made that now, even though the entire gamut of what they've done it's been condemned in some quarters with regard, of course, to what they say is the self-centeredness of that amendment. Now, let's also thank Dr. Okechukwu, who joined us from our Enugu Network studios. Dr. Okechukwu, thank you for being with us on the program this morning. All right, well, that does it for our discussion segment. Claire, we move on to sports.
Yes, and 3 Nigerians qualified for women's 400 meters at the London IAAF World Championships. And Nigerian forward Victor Moses ends goal drought as Arsenal wins 2017 Community Shield. We join our sports desk for details.